It was a sunny day. Pan American Flight 914 was preparing to fly from New York to Miami, Florida. The plane had 57 passengers and 4 crew members, and so the plane took off from New York. It would take them 3 hours to get there. The air traffic controllers in Florida were waiting for the plane from New York. But even though it was time to arrive, the plane didn't come. Hours passed, and still the plane didn't arrive. The officials at the Miami control tower received no information about the plane. The plane didn't even appear on Florida's radar. They couldn't get a connection with the pilot either. Nobody could locate the plane. Certainly, the next logical step was to contact the New York control tower. Then the air traffic police arrived at the New York control tower. But the answer they got from there was a strange one. Flight 914 had taken off from there right on time, but they had also lost radio connection with the pilots. So, the plane had departed from New York, but it hadn't arrived in Florida. Thus, they confirmed it. Pan American Flight 914 was missing. Then the investigation began. But the investigation didn't yield any particular evidence. That's when it caught their attention. Half of the flight route from New York to Florida went over the ocean. So when no evidence was found, they confirmed it. The plane must have crashed during the journey. The plane had fallen into the ocean. The passengers and crew members on the plane had died. But there were many holes in this confirmation by the investigation team, because after the plane went missing, they had conducted extensive searches on both sea and land using numerous rescue teams. Moreover, they had given instructions to the Coast Guards to scan the ocean water. Despite conducting such an extensive search, they hadn't been able to find even a piece of the crashed plane, or rather, the plane they assumed had crashed. So what really could have happened to that plane? If the plane crashed, why couldn't the investigation team find even a single remnant? Or if the plane didn't crash, where could it have disappeared to? The story begins here. People slowly started to forget about the plane's disappearance. Still, no one had received any evidence about the plane. Years passed. 37 years had passed since the incident. At the airport in Venezuela, South America, there was the usual crowd. The air traffic controller there was Juan de la Corte. Like any other day, he was absorbed in his busy work. Suddenly, Juan noticed it. A plane had appeared on the radar. He didn't know which plane it was, because at this time, no plane was supposed to arrive at that airport. He knew all the schedules of that day's planes, but nevertheless, he checked the flight schedule once more. Then he understood. This was an emergency landing. When certain technical failures occur, planes make emergency landings at nearby airports. But still, some fear crept into him. He saw through the radar that the plane was moving closer to the airport. He looked at the plane through binoculars. At first, it seemed like a normal plane, but as the plane got closer, the mystery increased. The plane was using propellers from years ago instead of turbines. He realized this was a very old plane. Thus, the plane reached a distance where they could see it. When they directly saw the shape of the plane, they were in for a big shock. Although the plane's construction was in the old style, the plane didn't look very old. They got the impression of a vehicle that had come from some other world. They couldn't understand what was happening. They didn't know what to do. Suddenly, the captain of the plane connected with the airport's radio.
Where are we now?
the captain asked. The officials gave the answer to that. Then the officials asked for details about them. The pilot told them it was a Pan American plane going from New York to Florida. But after that, the pilot said one more thing. That thing had a huge impact on the officials.
This plane was supposed to land on July 2nd, 1955.
Fear was building up inside the officials. They didn't say anything to the pilot. Then they started asking whether the plane had any accident or whether the plane had landed somewhere. But the pilot's answer to that was silence. All this was creating numerous confusions in the officials' minds. Within a short time, the plane started to land. After the plane landed, the officials told that thing to the pilots. "I believe you know. You have landed in September 1992. Upon hearing that, the pilots started becoming agitated. The officials could hear the trembling in their voices due to fear. Then, to disembark the passengers, the officials sent security guards. But when the pilot saw the security guards approaching the plane, he did a strange thing. The pilot forbade the passengers from getting off the plane. The officials couldn't understand anything, but immediately the pilot did something no one expected. He started to take off the plane. It was a very risky takeoff. Although the officials stopped him many times through the radio, the pilot didn't change his decision. Thus, the plane took off, and within moments it disappeared from the radar. Later, despite numerous searches, there were no results. Pan American Flight 914 had disappeared somewhere again. So what really could have happened to that plane? Why didn't the plane and they age? This still remains as an unsolved mystery in American history. Why does this remain mysterious even today? I know this incident is raising numerous doubts in your mind. We felt the same way when we first heard this story. Then we tried to learn more about this. So we took a list of flights that went missing that year in America. But Pan American Flight 914 was not on that list. We thought maybe it would be on the list of crashed flights. We took a list of flights that crashed that year in America. But Pan American Flight 914 was not on that list either. The mystery of the incident was increasing. Then we looked at the worldwide flight missing cases on the day the incident occurred, but there too it was a failure. Not a single flight missing case was registered anywhere in the world on that day. Now the only remaining way is a search using the flight's name. But this news hadn't appeared on any authorized website. All the websites that had it only had this story. No additional information was obtained. Finally, we reached Wikipedia, but the result on Wikipedia was shocking to us. Wikipedia says there is no flight with this name at all. So then, what could have happened? If nothing happened, then where did everyone get this story from? Who could be behind this? The news first appeared in an English newspaper called Weekly World News. Though the name might sound like a normal newspaper, things are a bit different. It was a newspaper that had gained notoriety for publishing amazing fictional stories. All the topics they handle are of this nature. When the incident first appeared in the newspaper, they had also provided a photo of a person named Juan de la Corte as the traffic controller. Perhaps they did that for the credibility of the incident. Then they republished this news again in 1999. But there, they had made a small mistake. The photo of Juan, the traffic controller, had changed due to their carelessness. So we don't need any more evidence to prove this story isn't real. The newspaper that first published it is enough.